Hi, I'm Romer Jared Llagas from DGE7, LITEPOP, and I'll be discussing my takeaways from the class, the modules, and also how I will use it after the class. So I'll be discussing my module takeaways, and since I have to choose two, I chose Game of Thrones, which was presented by the other group, and also the group Play of the Gods. So my first takeaway for the Game of Thrones is that sacrifice is always necessary when it comes to leadership. So one key moment there is when Daenerys locked up her dragons after a farmer's child was killed. So in this scene, that even if Daenerys loved her dragon so much, she realizes that leadership sometimes requires to make in making painful decisions for the greater good. So it's for the common good. That's why she did it. And this scene mirrors that sacrifices in the real world, especially leaders, they make sacrifices in order to do their duties and over personal desires. So, as a student, this teaches me the importance of making tough decisions and sucking it up, especially when emotions are involved. So, sometimes, most of the time, especially if you're a student leader or even in a small group, you are required to give up all of your time, most of your time, your rest days, um, take up even if you say that time management is the key, you really have to sacrifice something over um, just to accomplish what you need to do. And sacrificing personal comfort and desire is necessary to achieve a great purpose, and whether in leadership, academics, or personal growth. Okay, my second takeaway is it's the consequences of seeking revenge or even feeling the hatred, too much hatred. So, revenge is actually a repeated event in the Game of Thrones, and this series shows how often it leads to destruction, and rather than the satisfaction of the character itself. So, one example is when Arya Stark is on quest of her vengeance to and lead her across to Westeros, but after even killing the Night King, she realizes that revenge does not bring the peace that she wants. So, similarly, there are Lannister's obsession with destroying her enemies, which actually leads to her downfall, and when she underestimates Daenerys' um, wrath. So, as a student, it also teaches us that revenge is actually something that can destroy you back. Even if you want to destroy other people for for what they did to you, or even your even just talking about your friends behind their back, or in general just making other people feel bad, and just to feel the satisfaction after whatever they did to you. I think it teaches us the intelligence and adaptability for and also decision making about the choices that we make, and it's an ethical decision to that is crucial in any field. Even if outside architecture or any course that you take, you're always gonna be around people, you're gonna work with people after you graduate. So I think it's inevitable that you're gonna have fights with other people, you're gonna hate other people will hate you. So revenge is very um a foolish decision sometimes. So instead of just taking a revenge, my takeaway is I learned that after watching the Game of Thrones and a lot of movie scenes, a lot of the scenes there in the series, um, revenge causes more pain towards a person and actually affects actually affects a lot of people around you. My last takeaway for the Game of Thrones is power can sometimes be fragile. I know power is power, and a lot of people can do a lot of things with it. They can influence other people with it. But in the Game of Thrones, there is a key example that I remember, which is Ned Stark's execution in season 1. Um, as the honorable hand of the king, Ned believes that the truth will protect him, but he underestimates the political ruthlessness of the Lannisters. So his death actually shocks everyone, even me and the characters, proving that almost all of the powerful individuals are not immune to betrayal. They're actually more prone to betrayal because a lot of people can be jealous towards them. And then, similarly to Daenerys, since in season 8, she actually experienced her fall as well, and how power can corrupt and how quickly change the public perception of someone. And then as a student, I think it teaches me that you're not always on top of everything, even if a lot of things are going on your way, or whenever I'm experiencing like I get high grades, uh I get the recognition of the profs that I encounter. I think it doesn't mean uh that it will not go away if I don't continue making an effort towards it. And it's not something that I should be it's not something that I should be complacent about. It doesn't end there. Even if you have the power over something, even if you have the power to say things that you want to say, you have the freedom to do this and that. I think there are always you should always work hard for things, and you shouldn't I shouldn't feel like, even if just because I have this, um I shouldn't have a reality check or a self-reflection just because I feel entitled that I have this kind of power. So I think this Game of Thrones scenes teaches me on how to be humble and always just protect yourself from a lot of things as well, even if towards people. You can't trust anybody just because you have the power. Um, yeah. So I think it made me realize that power can be fragile. So the Game of Thrones provided me a material as a student that is more than a fantasy. So it's a study about also leadership, power, ethics, and human nature, and it pushes me to critic and adapt to challenges and understand the complexities of decision making in any field, especially in my field. So my next one is the group play of the gods, which I really personally liked, and I actually enjoyed reading it and also the pictures. So my first takeaway is the absurd blind faith towards the leaders that we have. So in the group play of the gods, I'll just give one example, which was how the people are blindly mm, making okay Gru, despite being the fool that he is, he's very stupid, often gains followers just simply because he appears to be influential towards the people. And there this summarizes that a lot of people actually place their faith towards unqualified leaders, which I know it's a big issue, societal issue here in the Philippines as well. So, uh, it mirrors the real world situations where a lot of people are voting for people who are unqualified just because they're popular. There's a lot of artists that are running for the government seats, even if they are not qualified enough for that. And then people are easily manipulated by their propaganda or charisma rather than their competence to do good for the people. And they're um, if they are really capable of doing that. So we often, for us as a student, we uh, we actually, even me, I reflect on how people act and how people handle situations like that, and it's really noticeable that we have leaders and they treat them like as someone who, like a god or something. Like, I'm not a fan of patronizing leaders just because they're doing good. It's because that's their job. So in the group Play of the Gods, it's noticeable that they put their faith on people that causes destruction instead of bringing peace and quiet to the place and for the people's sake. My next takeaway is the destructive effects of greed and power. So, in the group Play of the gods in the story compete for worshippers and also treating humans like pawns in a game, and it reflects that those in power often exploits people for their own gain, which there are a lot of like a soldier like people in the group Play of the Gods, which they uses their power to colonize the people in the land, and they're using the name of the god Diathos, which they named him like the god of wisdom or something, that they should follow them and join. But in reality, they just want to take the gold, they just want to take the land. And whether in real world, whether in business and politics or religion, that actually happens. So as a student, um it's my responsibility to not keep a closed mind. I have to be open minded. I have to see what's really happening in the real world. And for me as a student, I also notice the effects of the greed and power that is happening in the society today. So that's one of my takeaways, since people have to realize that people can be greedy even if they're powerful. They're not powerful because it's they're not powerful just because they're good. It can be the latter. And then they have to people just have to be a little bit selfless and not selfish in a way, even if they have the power to take a lot of things from a lot of people. My last takeaway is this is the most important one for me: incompetence is foolish. It happens even if you're a student. So, Gru in the story is a walking disaster. So wherever he goes, destruction follows. However, the irony is that he doesn't even know it. He's unintentionally evil, and he's simply ignorant for the things that is happening around him. And this highlights how incompetence, even without malice, can lead to disaster. And in the real world, poor decision making by those in power can have unintended consequences. So, as a student, group play of the gods remains uh, uh, impactful and reminds me that I have to think critically, question authority, and even recognize the consequences of my foolish actions and decisions, and also other people's foolish actions and decisions if it affects other people. So, whether in leadership or in everyday life, blindly following without thought can lead to ruin, even if you don't even know it is really happening. So, um, working in a group as well, incompetence is something that can ruin friendship, um, collaboration with people can can have a downside if you're not competent for it. So it really affects your future. It affects your relationship. For the crew, what it provided me as a student is a humorous or satire take to critic the power, faith, and human foolishness. And it's more than a humorous comic since it uses comedy to highlight real world issues in a way that it's both entertaining and it makes me think. Similarly, on how it showed me a different way of looking at the world, since looking at the world, Gru made me see how comedy can be used as a lens um, to assess serious topics like war, politics, colonialism, and leadership, and our blind faith for the leaders that we have. So, um, instead of presenting it in a dark or dramatic way, it uses the exaggeration, not exactly because it really happens sometimes, and there's a lot of real issues out there that is similar to the group way of the gods, and uh, it taught me that the world is that is not a peaceful place to live in for a lot of people out there. So people often caught in conflicts beyond their control, and a lot of powerful people powerful people are putting their power in a bad way. And the group play of the gods allowed me to see that, and just not the positive side of the world. And it did use humor, but in a different it uses humor in a different way, since humor is not about making people laugh, and Drew made me see that, and it made me humor is also made for people to think, and the comic takes a foolish character like Gru and places him in situations where his stupidity causes chaos, but in doing so, it also exposes how often those in power act just as Gru. So, in conclusion, if I'll conclude Gru Play of the Gods, it made me question authority, think critically about the leadership and the leaders that we have, and recognize the hidden messages behind humor. For my next takeaways it's gonna be about it's gonna come from the class, and also I also chose the mystery box, the viewing materials, and also the group works or the group discussions. So first, is the mystery box. I was actually the secretary at the time, so I didn't have to actually play. I have to see all of them and I get to watch them. So I learned that just by watching them. Popular culture material can also provide engaging ways to develop critical thinking, problem solving, and also teamwork. Even if they don't have to share, they actually support each other, and I could see that from the in front of the class. And um, since while watching them, they were cheering, they were so loud that time, and in this way, they actually during breaks, whenever they're waiting for, okay, since I have to get the papers, they're gonna talk to each other, they're gonna whisper to each other that oh, we studied about this, we had a discussion about this. So they actually help each other even in little things, and they're having fun, they're entertained just by doing that. So my next one is from our viewing material. I choose the Running Man. I learned that in variety shows and games, it can also reflect the social dynamics, teamwork, and human psychology about the world. So, to prove that, the way the contestants interact, whether through alliances or betrayal, since we watched the spy episode, or the problem solving, it mirrors the real world relationship that we have and the challenges. The show is using strategies, competition, and humor, which highlights how people adapt under pressure, and it showcases traits like leadership, reliance, and wit actually, and uh, there are a lot of scenes in that episode where Junsuk, the one with the glasses, um, he had to think of a way on how to shoot the gun without everyone knowing, and I think that's basically learning from the human movement of the people that he needs to shoot. So even just by watching that, you get it. So the next one is about our group discussions or group work, which I learned that just in popular literature or popular culture, the materials we discussed, it works best when the material itself is there's a trigger in the emotions that you're just hooked. So it works best when the emotions are expressed in songs, videos, and other creative forms. And to prove that that situation for the all of us in the group, expression, being able to feel the emotions through these mediums makes more ideas, and it makes it more relatable and impactful, allowing us and other people to connect on a deeper level. Lastly, I intend to use my takeaways from the LITEPOP in my personal life or in everyday life in a way that it will reflect in my critical thinking and capabilities, and my creativity, my teamwork with people, and also uh, mm, even if in both my personal or my professional life, the lessons is something that I get to live by. And this takeaway is like the Game of Thrones lesson, the strategies in Drew satire power on power, Running Man's dynamic storytelling, or the engaging games like the mystery box, the discussions. I've learned how media influences perspectives and decision making. these insights will help me as an architecture student and also as an architect in the future to adapt, communicate my ideas effectively, and I'll use it while I'm collaborating with others, designing meaningful spaces, and also I get to uh, I get to keep in mind that I have to evoke emotions and connections by applying these takeaways. So I can navigate challenges in using innovation, empathy, and in a deeper understanding of human beings. So to conclude everything, LITEPOP class has provided me a deeper understanding of how popular culture materials like TV series, novels, comics, games, group discussions, even written the songs, the music videos. It taught me about a lot of stuff, even in critiquing and understanding deep words, deep emotions, and how people use that medium to touch other people's hearts or to express their emotions. So, um, concluding my takeaways, um, these takeaways will help me think and communicate effectively, and the whole lit pop class will help me apply creativity in both my personal growth and professional work as an architecture student, and in my everyday life. I think I will always, whenever I hear a song, I will always remember that in my lip pop class, maybe this means, maybe that means, like that. Whenever I'm watching, I'm gonna, I think there will be no time that I just watch without thinking why it was made that way. So after this class, I realized that there are different meanings, different scenes, different words, and I'm happy that I get to have a deeper understanding about that and for learning about the subject. So that's it. Thank you. And these are my takeaways from the module, the class, and also how I can apply it in my daily life.